We are WGNU, Granite City.
Hi, I'm Samantha Harris, and I'm a breast cancer survivor. I want to stay healthy for a long time to come, and that goes for brain health, too. Tragically, brain diseases such as Alzheimer's afflict millions of Americans and take a huge toll on their families. Vital research is needed to find cures faster. You can help by registering now at brainhealthregistry.org. It's online, free, and easy to do. Let's all keep our brain health top of mind. Help find Alzheimer's cures faster by visiting brainhealthregistry.org.
Sergeant Jabari Wright.
In the Army, I was trained as a combat lifesaver. In 2012, had an accident and became paralyzed. I was used to working in healthcare and how am I supposed to help people, and I'm in a wheelchair now. It really severely impacted my confidence.
Jim Arndt, PAVE program, Paralyzed Veterans of America.
PAVE helps veterans rebuild lives with valuable careers. We assess the skills, build the resumes, and help with the interviewing skills to be able to find a career that our veterans are looking for.
PVA took what I was doing in the military and helped me translate that to meaningful employment in the civilian sector. Hooking up with them helped to empower me.
PAVE really concentrates on the one-on-one relationships. Unlike other programs that measure success by placements alone, PAVE places greater emphasis on quality jobs and continued support, our Partner for Life guarantee.
To learn more, visit pva.org. A public service message from Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Hey, it's Yale Hollander. You know me from all the times I butt into everyone else's shows. Well, now it's finally time to get my own. Join me every Wednesday night from 6 to 7 for the Wind Down with Yale Hollander. We'll have some laughs, talk to some interesting people, think about what we're eating, drinking, wearing, and doing over the weekend, because on the Wind Down, Wednesdays are the new Thursdays. Join me on the Wind Down every Wednesday on WGNU 920 AM and your favorite streaming and podcast platforms.
Welcome to the new John Simmons Show. After years of battling a gambling addiction, John found a hope and a future for his life through Christ. He has spent the last several years encouraging others to find joy, peace, and hope in their lives by walking out God's plan for their lives. Now, John wants to help you find the passion, vision, and faith you need to start writing out God's sentence for your life and help you add to it every day. Phone lines are now open. Call or text 314-880-0808. Now, here is your host, the new John Simmons.
Hey, everybody, welcome. It's the new John Simmons Show, where you can find God's sentence for your life and become the new you, where we talk about finding passion, vision, and faith in your walk with Christ so that your life can overflow with joy, peace, and hope today. Welcome to the early week broadcast, everybody. So thankful you've joined us on the program. For all of you on your radio, you know that you can also find us live on Facebook. The live stream is available at facebook.com/New John Simmons Show. You can find us also on the web streaming live at newjohnsimmons.com. Very excited for tonight's show because we have a very special guest going to join us in the first segment here. Tonight's guest is an actor and also a filmmaker. He is probably best known for directing a film that came out a few years ago called Ragamuffin. He's also directed a film called Brennan. His latest project is called Ragamuffin TV. It's a brand new indie streaming service channel that you can watch Color Green Films' growing library of original TV shows and movies anytime you want on your personal device. Ragamuffin TV is going to be available on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, Xbox, iOS, Android. It looks like it's going to be everywhere. To tell us more about Ragamuffin TV and the Color Green Films and their mission to let the world know that Jesus loves them through movies and ministry, let's welcome David Leo Schultz to the new John Simmons Show. David, how are you doing?
Hey, John, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, no, it's a pleasure because I'm very excited to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is quality Christian content being put out for others to find. So before we jump into talking a lot about Ragamuffin, I want to sort of back up a little bit in your story to let people know more about you and what you're doing, okay?
Sure.
So let's
Sure,
talk about on your website. It says that you're a Jesus, a husband, a father, an actor, a comedian. You're an evangelist. You've also written a book. You are piling a lot of stuff into your life, and these things always encourage me because our listeners are encouraged by stories of people who are walking out lives of faith. You have balanced a lot of things on your plate. Is there, what's going on in your life that you're able to do so much?
Well, I guess for me, I just never was able to, pick one road.
Yeah. All right.
And, I kind of would always flip-flop on if I would just focus on, ministry endeavors in terms of just like preaching or teaching. I would really miss being creative and doing acting. And if I would, do some acting, I really miss doing comedy. So I think that a part of me just kind of made I spent a lot of years trying to pick one thing before I would do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And instead I decided to kind of invert that and, just do it and, do anything that God put on my heart. And I would enjoy it. Not that I'm great at everything. Matter of fact, I'm probably at best okay at some things and some things not very good at. And so some people go, well, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I go, well, because I'm alive.
Right.
And, why not? And so I think culture, especially here in America, we tend to not pursue things, unless we feel like we can be the best at it.
Right.
I kind of think that's backwards. I think that, part of being alive is, figuring out what stirs you and enjoying that. So.
Yeah, that's one of the things we talk about on this show a lot, David, is trying to help people find God's purpose and plan for their life and try to figure out their passions. It seems that even though you maybe not are great at anything, it seems like you're walking out some of those passions in your life. So can you maybe share with our listeners sort of where this desire to be in filmmaking and some of the decisions in life that you've made, where it stemmed from or how long you've been doing it?
Yeah, I've probably been into filmmaking for about 13 years and, had an affinity for acting and comedy and evangelism since I was a kid. I was kind of raised up on Saturday Night Live. And, I'm an 80s kid, so I was kind of grew up in that era. And simultaneously with, with being kind of drawn to creativity and to filmmaking and storytelling, I also, God kind of ambushed my life at a pretty young age. And so I had an affinity for Brennan Manning and Rich Mullins at a young age as well. And so it was kind of always this balance between, I really want to preach Jesus and his love, and I also want to be on Saturday Night Live. And so it was just kind of always a yes and thing for me, but in terms of, purpose and his will on my life, I never could figure that out. And, but I don't know that he reveals that to everybody. I think what he wants more than you to figure out, what your purpose is he wants you to want him more.
Sure.
And I think that at least maybe just show some of my brokenness, but I think that what he has, always done in my life is, he never usually reveals what's next. But I think what I have found in my relationship with him is he wants me to want him more than figuring it out. And the times that I, this is next is usually when I'm not even paying attention, when I'm so, kind of enraptured by him, that I'm okay with whatever's next, whether that's, driving Uber to make a few bucks to pay some bills, or, acting alongside Chevy Chase, or directing a movie. It's all very arbitrary at the end of the day, because I think that, as Rich Mullins used to say, I think that, God doesn't want to use us. God God wants us, right? It's a better thing to be wanted by God than to be used by God. So, that was kind of a lesson I learned early on. So,
David Schultz from Ragamuffin TV joining us tonight on the new John Simmons Show. You'd mentioned Saturday Night Live, and I was reading on your bio that in 1993 you founded a simple sketch comedy team called The Color Green that had sort of a desire to spread the love of Christ through comedy and preaching. I find this fascinating. I've never seen anything like this. So can you tell us maybe more about The Color Green and sort of what's going on with that today? It looks like it adapted into your ministry, Filmmakers.
Yeah, well, there's a song by Rich Mullins called The Color Green on one of his albums, Liturgy and Legacy, and Ragamuffin Band. And I just happened to listen to that song almost at the same time that God was really doing a great, really wooing me into a deeper relationship with him is the best way to put it. And I was just, to put it kind of in a cheesy way, I just was like a huge Jesus nerd and huge Jesus freak at this little 13-year-old kid, just like on fire for him. And I really just wanted people to know that God loves them. And really over, 25 years now, that's really hasn't changed. I've just gotten older and fatter, but I even remember thinking at the time, oh, man, what can we, that kind of, that fervor of, man, what can I do for the Lord?
Right.
And it was the only thing I was a kid, but I loved sketch comedy because of Saturday Night Live. I just was just a huge nerd and a fan of that show. And so it really started with like doing, I don't even know that I would call them sketches, but like skits in churches. And some of them were fashioned after like the 1970s old SNL sketches. And some of them, we just had made up whatever we thought was funny or stupid or whatever. And it just was kind of like a fun thing that like I just became, obsessed with. And so all throughout junior high and high school and college, I never pursued sports, and I really never even hung out much on the weekends with friends and this and that. I just was obsessed with kind of doing this traveling sketch team, and that was evangelistic. So we would do like comedy sketches and a couple dramas, and then we didn't call it preaching, but that's what it was. We were just kind of passionately spewing out the gospel, or the best that we knew it at the time. And so and it just I did just kept on doing it, and then after college kind of shipwrecked my life, and I really wasn't ever going to pursue filmmaking or acting or comedy on a professional level at that time, right? Around 22. I really, if I wanted to do anything, I wanted to be like Brendan Manning. I wanted to just become a vagabond evangelist. And then after I kind of, went through that really hard time in 2002, 2003, I just didn't know what else to do with my life. And so I was just in this real kind of, broken phase. And I just made my way out to Hollywood, and was really lost for a good few years of back to that what am I going to do with my life, when really the question I should have been asking is who am I, instead of what am I going to do. And because I was broken and I was really trying to find meaning by whether it be something secular, something in ministry. It didn't matter what it would have looked like. Either would have been bad for me, because what I really just needed is to let God love me in my state of brokenness. But those were lessons that would come. And so, but anyway, I just, started pursuing becoming an actor. And then out of the angst of being a struggling actor, I started making my own movies and made some comedies, and then they were fun experiences, but they didn't turn out how I wanted, and so I was never going to make a movie again, and then, or ever felt like I was going to do ministry again either. I just kind of felt done, and lost too, and then I ended up meeting Rich Mullins' brother, Dave Mullins, in Indianapolis, and that really kind of changed the trajectory of my life. So.
Yeah, you have mentioned Rich Mullins a couple of times, and for those listeners who don't know, you directed a movie about his life called Ragamuffin. I'm sure this is also where we get the name from, Ragamuffin TV, which we'll talk about in just a moment. I wanted to briefly sort of share my Rich Mullins story. I don't have a lot of them. I just have the one. And so you had mentioned that you were sort of born again at a young age. Well, I didn't get born again until I was 29 years old, but I remembered hearing Awesome God at church, like when my grandma would take me when I was a young boy. And it was the only Christian song when I finally got born again that I knew. It was the only one that I could talk about. And I had the lyrics so butchered in my heart over the last, 20 years of never hearing it again. And so I thought it was God is an awesome God on wings and feathers. I had the lyrics all wrong, but it's one of my favorite songs now. And I'm just curious. So you got to direct this movie, you met his brother, and you're telling his life story. And obviously this name has stuck with you to be able to put it on top of your new streaming service. So let's talk about Ragamuffin and how the name came about.
Well, the name comes from a book by Brennan Manning, The Ragamuffin Gospel. And have you ever read it, John?
No, I have not.
Oh, man, it'll change your life. Like, after the show, just
go get it. Yeah, all right.
And go get it. And, but for those of us that did grow up in the church, a lot of us were really, depending on what era and what, culture we grew up in, we're really beat up by the church. Beat up by legalism and, judgmentalism and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, so the problem is when you kind of are in those circumstances, it really distorts your image of who God is and his affection towards you. And this book called The Ragamuffin Gospel is basically saying the gospel is for everybody, and it's really a ragamuffin gospel. It's a gospel for rejects and losers and, not those who think they can earn God's love, but those who know that, to quote Brennan, that we're all equally unentitled beggars at the door of God's grace. And so that just really resonated with me. I read that book, I think, my freshman year of college, and I was 1999. And it just was gave me the words that I didn't even know I was looking for. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, I know there was there's a fairly large group of us that, people that long before the movie ever came about that, we were like naming everything Ragamuffin anyway. Mm-hmm. We like named our troop the Ragamuffin Players. We named, we were just such nerds because this, it really gave us new eyes to see the gospel in a fresh way. Wow. And so, the news became good news finally. And so, so it really was it's really for, those outside of Rich Mullins and Brennan Manning's, circles, those who are on the peripheral, like me, like I was, it really kind of became, Ragamuffin kind of became a moniker of, for me to say Ragamuffin is for me to say Christian.
Right.
For me to say God's beloved. It all means the same thing. And, but it was a way to say it that was near and dear to our hearts and our stories, frankly. And so I think the thing with the whole Ragamuffin Gospel and Brendan Manning thing and Rich Mullins thing, one of the things that I learned by doing stories about their lives is that those, I think, that are closest to, Rich and Brennan when they were alive, knew the men. And so I don't think, while they knew the impact that they had was enormous, I think that one of the things that they may not have realized is that, almost the message that they were doing and the way they did it, it's not something that any of us can own now. It's just something that I think God just used in through Brennan and Rich to draw a lot of us ragamuffins, if you will, closer to God. And so it's just a name that just I've loved. And, you know, and honestly, I tell people all the time, it's like, look, even if I never made a movie about Rich Mullins or Brendan Manning, I would have named it Ragamuffin TV anyway. Right.
That's
like,
great.
Yeah.
David Leo Schultz from Ragamuffin TV, the website ragamuffintv.com. I want to let you sort of tell people, because I'm so interested in Christian content being available to people that isn't, 10, 20 years old, that isn't just one DVD on a shelf, because, I have this, in the world, we see Netflix is full of movies, and we know that people are making movies, but the good quality Christian content seems to be so rare. And so for something that you guys have put together is so unique, I want people to know more about it. So tell us what they get and what it's about.
Yeah. So look, I'm a fan of mainstream movies. You know, like I'll be the first person to go see the next Avengers movie, Infinity Part 2, right?
Right.
I think like we say this all the time at Ragamuffin TV. We say, Christians get mad at Hollywood because they don't make movies honest about Jesus. But that's silly, because that would be like getting mad at somebody for not making a movie that's honest about my grandma, right? It's like, well, you don't know my grandma.
Right.
Why would I be mad at you for that, right? But here's the problem. The problem is that Christians tend to make movies that aren't honest about life. And what we try to do is we try to do both. We try to make excellent movies, excellent products that you get, with that high-end production value and real precision storytelling. Not from every Hollywood movie, but a lot of them, right?
David, I got a question on Facebook. They want to know, is it just produced situational content, or does it include small group type videos?
Yeah, it really has everything. And so we wanted a home for our movies and TV shows, right? So we're going to have a lot of narrative content coming out, but we have a ton of stuff like that. So we have a show called Ragamuffin Sundays that's just sermons, right? So right now on there, we have roughly around 140 different videos, right? So we've got sermons. We have little devotionals called Ragamuffin Reflections. So for those that just want a quick little devotion before they head off to work, we've got a series that we're kicking out over this summer called Common Prayer for Ragamuffins. So much like in the vein of the Book of Common Prayer, this will be like a little video thing that like a small group can use to, or just you on your own private practice of prayer. So a lot of different material like that. We have like house concerts, house worship concerts. So if people just, want to get together with their small group or their friends and on Friday night and have like a worship night in their own living room, they can do that. So it's yes and. So we'll have movies and television, but then also a ton of content like that's already up there.
Yeah, so many cool things.
We release content every week. That's part of our thing. So
it's a great resource for people, David. Let them know how they can subscribe and how they can get involved with putting this on their device.
Absolutely. So if you are just at your computer right now, you can go to ragamuffintv.com. We've got a free trial that you can try out. But you can also find our TV channel in many app stores. So if you got Roku, if you got Apple TV, iOS, Android, Google Play, we're on all those stores right now. So, and we're working on the others, but right now, Roku, Apple TV, iOS, and Android, you can find us for your device.
Great stuff tonight, David. Thank you so much for sharing your heart for the Lord and for doing all this stuff to try and create some quality Christian content for all of us to enjoy. So thank you for your time tonight.
Dude, that's really nice of you, John. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, it was a blast. Thanks so much. All right, everybody, head over to ragamuffintv.com. As he said, you can find him and Ragamuffin TV on all sorts of apps and devices, and you can download this. This is quality Christian content, which we talk about on this show, is so rare. And so for a group and a ministry to be putting this together just for us to enjoy, and all we have to do is support it and, pay our $8 a month, and we can have this right in our own hands. And What a great resource. I want to thank David Schultz for joining us. More about this and maybe some Saturday Night Live more discussion when we come back on the break. This is the New John Simmons Show, part of the Testimony House Network. Hey everybody, New John Simmons here with you. Back in 2012, I found myself at the end of my rope for what seemed like the 100th time. I cried out to God and said, God, if you're real, I need you to show me a future and a hope for my life. What happened next changed my life forever. It took me out of my life where I was a gambling addict who had lost over $500,000, allowed me to begin a new life in Christ, where I found more joy, peace, and hope than I ever knew existed. I share the stories, including where I blamed God for my father's death and the call into ministry that I found in my first book called Finding Faith. I also share with you the answers to the questions that I was asking God about what is faith and how can I move mountains with it. Finding Faith has those stories and so much more. I absolutely believe it can encourage you to find faith in your life today. Finding Faith by me, the New John Simmons, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble website, Walmart. You can also pick up a copy signed by me over at newjohnsimmons.com.
Testimony House Ministries is the proud sponsor of the New John Simmons Show. We are so thankful for all of you who tune into the show, watch us live on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. Without all of you, the New John Simmons Show and all the other Testimony House Network shows would not be possible. Please visit newjohnsimmons.com today and click the Partner with Us tab to help us continue sharing our message of future and a hope through Christ with others. God bless. Are you interested in learning more about finding God's sentence for your life? At newjohnsimmons.com, there are articles and videos describing how you can begin to write God's sentence for your life by finding passion, vision, and faith. In addition, newjohnsimmons.com has a variety of ways for you to be encouraged to continue writing God's sentence. As always, you can hear the show live weekdays at 9 p.m. Central Time by clicking the Listen Live button when you visit newjohnsimmons.com.
Faithfully Fit and Wellness is St. Louis's all-new faith-based fitness program. Not only does Faithfully Fit want to see you shed pounds, but also wants to see you shed any other weight you've been carrying through Christ. Classes are filling up every morning during the week, so grab your spot in an individual class or an 8-week boot camp. Faithfully Fit offers classes in circuit training, drumstick fusion, cardio, and strength and personal training. Classes start at just $5, and the 8-week boot camp starts at $75. But wait, as a listener of the New John Simmons Show, Faithfully Fit is offering you a buy one, get one free boot camp when you mention this ad when signing up. That's 2 camps for the price of 1. You can bring a friend, split the cost, or have your second camp for free. Either way, this is a special offer only for show listeners. Sign up today by calling 314-239-4149 or visit faithfully.fit for more information. Faithfully Fit can also hold classes at your church or school. Don't delay. Contact Faithfully Fit, where they hope to strengthen your body and your relationship with Christ. Call 314-239-4149.
WGNU, the talk of St. Louis. Broadcasting on 920 AM and 106.9 FM.
Want to start writing or add to God's sentence for your life? Wants to learn what that means? Visit newjohnsimmons.com for articles and videos that can help you find a future and a hope for your life today. Now, back to the New John Simmons Show.
Welcome back. It's the New John Simmons Show with you weeknights at 9 on your radio, streaming live on Facebook, and also available over at newjohnsimmons.com. We just got off the phone with David Schultz, who is the director of the Ragamuffin film from years ago. When I worked at Lifeway several years back, this was a highly touted film. People just couldn't get enough of this Rich Mullins story, so I'm really excited that I finally got an opportunity to talk with the filmmaker who created this. In addition to that, we had some comments on Facebook talking about how the subscription to Ragamuffin TV is totally worth it. I was just browsing through their selection of material. They have movies and series, and they have all sorts of. They have a forum, and there's all sorts of different ways to get connected with other believers on this. I'm very excited about something like this, and I don't want any of my listeners to sleep on something like this. You get a free 3-day trial to just try this thing out. Because, look, here's the thing. And they're not paying me to say this, by the way. I'm just a big proponent of quality Christian content being prepared so that I can watch it. It's a personal thing here. So many of us as Christians, and I'm going to say a blanket statement here, and I don't generally like them, but I say them anyway, is that we don't get the opportunity to see so many quality Christian programs put out on the air. I mean, look, if you look at the movie theaters, the times that we get to go to see a movie as a Christian that, represents our faith, what is it, 2 or 3 times a year something will be produced? A couple movies around Easter, you might get one around Christmas, and that's it. We don't have a movie coming out every Friday at the theater that can encourage our faith. And yet, here is a service like Netflix. It's, identical in its sort of its structure. You can get it on your app or on your phone or something like this. There are Christian movies on Netflix, but there's not, the Netflix for Christians. And I'm sure there are other things like this out in the world, but I haven't seen a whole lot of them. And so if you are a believer and you want to continue to see quality Christian programs, it's up to us to promote and also to support the people who are stepping out in faith and creating this content. The Color Green Films, which is what David is behind and what also creates all of these shows, TV shows and movies, they're putting a lot of hard work and effort and faith behind creating content for you and me to have quality entertainment for ourselves and for our children, and allow us to be able to share our faith and not just have to go watch everything that the world's making. Jack over on Facebook says, if we're not fighting with God, then we're fighting with God. I think you said if we're not fighting for God. I'm not sure. But I get the gist here is that we need to be supporting one another and creating the ability to let these things continue to happen. If we continue to disregard all of the Christian content out in the world, eventually people are going to stop making it because it's not going to be worth making. There's a reason I think sometimes when we see the Christian films come on, or we see something like PureFlix, which puts out all of these Christian films, but they're not to the quality we are sometimes used to in the movie theater. If we were supporting these films, if every film was like Passion of the Christ and made $600 million in the box office, we're going to see a lot more of these things take place. But it's up to us as believers, it's up to us as a community to support the people who are creating good content. And it upsets me as just a viewer when I talk to people. I'm like, hey, what have you seen this week? Or what have you seen this year? What shows can you turn me on to? And all we talk about is the secular stuff. Even David said, he's a fan of secular movies, and so am I. I'm not saying we have to stop going out and watching Avengers or something like that simply because we're Christians. But wouldn't you like to have movies you can go see in the movie theater on a date night? Wouldn't you like to be able to turn your phone on to Netflix or something like it and be able to scroll through a quality app that has content that's worth sharing with others, that's encouraging to your spirit, that you can actually sit down with your kids and watch, or your youth group, take it to church, you can put it in your small group resources? I'm a big fan of anyone who is stepping out in faith and trying to create Christian content, especially those who are taking the road less traveled. It's easy for a church to put their sermon up on Facebook. You were doing the service anyway. We're having church on Sundays, guys. All we have the opportunity to do now via Facebook Live is just plan a camera down and press go, essentially. So when you're scrolling and you see the church and they have their Sunday service up on Facebook Live, or they've recorded it, now we can broadcast our sermons and our messages to people across the world, and it's very exciting. But it's also exactly what your neighbor church is doing, and their neighbor church, and churches across the country are providing this exact same shot of the preacher sharing his message, and that's the quality Christian content that we have delivered to us. If every movie that Hollywood make was just a romantic comedy, you'd eventually get bored of that. If every movie was just a cartoon, you get bored with that. It's not going to continue to engage you day after day, year after year. But that's what we as Christians, what we're doing sometimes. It's so frustrating for me as someone who's trying to step out in faith on my own and create Christian content that sort of goes upstream when everybody else is going downstream, because I know how hard it is to come up with original thoughts and ideas and try to share the gospel in a unique way, whether it's via radio or podcasting, and not just for my show, for people that I've talked to over the years who are doing similar things. And now we've got somebody who's invested the time and resources and infrastructure to create a platform so that you can just go on your phone right now, and for $6 or $7 a month, you can have Christian content that's updated every week with new things. They're doing an awful lot of work to provide that for us. But if we disregard it because, well, we've already got Netflix. What if Netflix stops playing the Christian movies? For me, I want to support things like this because I want them to continue. I want the next ministry, and I don't want, 10 years from now, when we look at what technology is and we see just the landscape is full of all of these creative ideas, and none of them came from people who are pressing into God and saying, God, what can I do for you? What's next? What's the next idea? Give me wisdom, Lord, to do Facebook Live better than the average Facebook Live person. Give me the wisdom to be engaging to an audience more than just sharing our church sermon. How many of us actually watched that whole sermon? Uh-oh. Don't get too real, John. We see it all the time, but if you're not going to that church that's uploaded that message, or you're not familiar with them on a personal basis where you've heard many messages before, if it's just a church service that someone has shared on your feed, is that something you stop when you're scrolling down on Instagram? Would you stop, though, if it was a trailer for a new Christian film and you've never seen it before? I would. I'd be a lot excited to be able to see YouTube filled with all of these Christian trailers like we see today. You go on YouTube and the front page has all of the brand new trailers for upcoming Hollywood movies, and they have millions and millions of views. People are interested in these things. They want quality content. They want to get excited about something that's on the way. Are we able to get excited about the church sermon that's on the way on Sunday on Facebook Live? Is that the quality video content that we're desperate for inside the body of Christ? I don't know. Not saying it's bad. Please don't spin my words here, guys. What I'm saying is there something else we can do? And if there are other things we can do and we don't support them and those things stop and cease from existing, what encouragement of faith is the next person who has a big idea like that going to have in regards to being able to step out and do it? If someone has an idea that maybe is like Ragamuffin TV or is similar to it on maybe a different area, maybe it's radio, maybe it's YouTube or something different, or maybe it's the next technology in 5 years, and they look at, well, who else has been doing this? And they do a Google search and they come across 3 or 4 Christian companies or ministries that have created quality Christian content or just Christian content in general, and none of them have succeeded. Is it because they were bad at what they were doing? Is it because God wasn't behind them? Or could it be the devil just tried to put everything in front of them to stop it from taking place? Or is it simply because we'd rather take our kids to go see the next Disney movie and pay $30 at the theater than pay for a 6-month subscription to something like this that can go so much farther in their hands than it'll go in the hands of Disney? What do they do? Build another theme park with our $30? Meanwhile, ministries across the country are looking for believers to find things that they can get behind and sink their teeth into. And for me, we talk about this on the show all the time. We talked about it just the other day. Kids 5 years old and younger, on average right now, are going to spend 4,000 hours before they turn 5 years old in front of a screen. Whether it's an app, a phone, a movie, TV show, at school, preschool, daycare. 4,000 hours. That's just our kids. Imagine how many hours a year you're going to spend in front of a screen. If you're going to spend 4,000 hours in front of a screen over the next few years, wouldn't you like some of those hours to be spent in front of some Christian content I would. And I don't want it to just be a sermon. I want it to entertain me sometimes. And sometimes I want a music experience. And sometimes I want a small group experience. And sometimes I want something different. What about you? What would engage you? Maybe you could email an idea over to David. Say, hey, look, man, maybe if you're someone who's producing content like this, put it up on YouTube or Facebook and share it with me, and I'll share it with other people. God wants us to continue to share the message, and he's given us gifts and talents to do this. Sometimes some of us don't have these ideas, though, but we can support those that do. So there's really no excuse whether you have the idea or whether you have the ability to support an idea. It's up to us as a group of believers to be able to encourage one another. And I don't want people to say, well, if there was just more Christian content, there is. It's out there. We got to find it. And so on this show, we're going to try as best we can to highlight people who are doing things in the area of Christian content production, whether it's TV, radio, who knows what else we'll come across over the years. But don't sleep on this. Don't decide that this isn't for you. Go look it out over at ragamuffintv.com. See if you can subscribe. If it's something that you'll watch, please do. Don't wait. Don't think about it for 5 more minutes or say, maybe next month or something. Start watching it now. You get a free 3-day trial. A free 3-day trial. Easy for you to say, John. So head over there. I want to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to discuss this Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, and the Chick-fil-A thing that happened earlier in the news cycle. A couple thoughts on that to close out tonight's show. Don't go away. You're listening to the New John Simmons Show, part of the Testimony House Network. Faithfully Fit and Wellness is St. Louis's all-new faith-based fitness program. Not only does Faithfully Fit want to see you shed pounds, but also wants to see you shed any other weight you've been carrying through Christ. Classes are filling up every morning during the week, so grab your spot in an individual class or an 8-week boot camp. Faithfully Fit offers classes in circuit training, drumstick fusion, cardio, and strength and personal training. Classes start at just $5, and the 8-week boot camp starts at $75. But wait, as a listener of the New John Simmons Show, Faithfully Fit is offering you a buy one, get one free boot camp when you mention this ad when signing up. That's 2 camps for the price of 1. You can bring a friend, split the cost, or have your second camp for free. Either way, this is a special offer only for show listeners. Sign up today by calling 314-239-4149 or visit faithfully.fit for more information. Faithfully Fit can also hold classes at your church or school. Don't delay. Contact Faithfully Fit, where they hope to strengthen your body and your relationship with Christ. Call 314-239-4149.
Are you interested in learning more about finding God's sentence for your life? At newjohnsimmons.com, there are articles and videos describing how you can begin to write God's sentence for your life by finding passion, vision, and faith. In addition, newjohnsimmons.com has a variety of ways for you to be encouraged to continue writing God's sentence. As always, you can hear the show live weekdays at 9 p.m. Central Time by clicking the Listen Live button when you visit newjohnsimmons.com. Testimony House Ministries is the proud sponsor of the New John Simmons Show. We are so thankful for all of you who tune into the show, watch us live on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. Without all of you, the New John Simmons Show and all of the other Testimony House Network shows would not be possible. Please visit newjohnsimmons.com today and click the Partner with Us tab to help us continue sharing our message of future and a hope through Christ with others. God bless.
Hey, everybody. New John Simmons here with you. Back in 2012, I found myself at the end of my rope for what seemed like the 100th time. I cried out to God and said, God, if you're real, I need you to show me a future and a hope for my life. What happened next changed my life forever. It took me out of my life where I was a gambling addict who had lost over $500,000, allowed me to begin a new life in Christ, where I found more joy, peace, and hope than I ever knew existed. I share the stories, including where I blamed God for my father's death and the call into ministry that I found in my first book called Finding Faith. I also share with you the answers to the questions that I was asking God about what is faith and how can I move mountains with it. Finding Faith has those stories and so much more. I absolutely believe it can encourage you to find faith in your life today. Finding Faith by me, the new John Simmons, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble website, Walmart. You can also pick up a copy signed by me over at newjohnsimmons.com.
Every topic is on the table here at WGNU 920 AM and 106.9 FM.
The new John Simmons Show is part of the Testimony House Network. To learn more about the network or to watch other network programs, please visit testimonyhouse.org. Now, here's the new John Simmons.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show tonight. If you'd like to support the ministry Testimony House, which puts on this broadcast, head over to newjohnsimmons.com. Click on the Partner with Us tab. You can be a financial supporter and help put some of our shows on the air. You can be an advertiser. If you have a business or service and you have a Christ-centered heart and you want to share your service with others, we can advertise your service or your business right here on the show via Facebook Live, via our radio broadcast in multiple cities, via our website. Lots of different ways to work together to partner to share the gospel of Christ and love God and love others in however gifted and talented ways that God has created us to do that. So head over to newjohnsimmons.com. Contact us today if you want to partner with us to help share our message of finding a hope and a future through Christ with others. The last segment of the show this evening, I want to discuss just a little blurb that came across the news feed. It's got Twitter ablaze about Jack Dorsey, who is the CEO of Twitter. He was blasted for patronizing Chick-fil-A and tweeting about it, apparently. Love Chick-fil-A, by the way. Not just because I'm a Christian. For one, I worked there. It was the very first job I ever had at the mall that has now been destroyed near my house. When I was growing up, the only Chick-fil-A's we had were the ones in the food court around St. Louis where we live. And it was my very first job. I got a worker's permit at 14 and a half. Worked on the weekends only, just a few hours a day. So the most they would let me work. Worked there till I was 18 or 19. At one point, I was working 3 or 4 jobs, including Chick-fil-A, after I graduated from high school. The abundance of cash that I was able to store because of all those jobs. I loved to work. Well, I didn't really love to work. I loved money. And I realized that work was the way to get money. And so my senior year, I was in the work release program for my high school. Got a full-time job my senior year of high school and continued to work as much as I could possibly work because I loved having money, the freedom that came from it. Eventually, that stockpile of cash fueled my gambling addiction when that started. But Chick-fil-A has a unique place in my heart and in my life. Love Chick-fil-A. In fact, just over the weekend, my birthday. See if I can find it here. My beautiful wife had to work this weekend, so we celebrated my birthday earlier this afternoon. Just this afternoon, my wife graciously got me a gift. I love to read. One of the books that she got me for my birthday is It's Easier to Succeed Than to Fail by Truett S. Cathy, who is the former CEO and founder of Chick-fil-A. I remember watching the videos that he put together, or I guess his team put together when I first started at Chick-fil-A. It wasn't this big deal back in the day, by the way. When I started working at Chick-fil-A, there wasn't, one on every street corner like they're starting to be. It wasn't the biggest chicken chain in the country yet. It wasn't the fastest growing. It wasn't, one of the top 5 moneymakers. It was just a stand in the mall. Almost nameless. It was next to Tippins. I don't know. Are there still Tippins around? None by me. Maybe they're still out there. It was next to a Tippins and a Quiznos, and I know that Quiznos is gone from St. Louis, and I'm pretty sure Tippins is as well. So sort of speaks to the type of food court establishments we were running with. I thought that they had a great establishment. Even before I was a born-again Christian, I was working at Chick-fil-A and with a lot of homeschooled Christians. I was, by the way, but none of them rubbed off on my faith. I was firm in that I didn't want to know Jesus until I found him at 29. they didn't have the reputation that they've gotten in recent years. And they're just, from my perspective, is there enjoys their food. And, man, I love going through the drive-through at Chick-fil-A. What's it take, 38 seconds? 2 million cars in front of you? Don't worry about it. We got you covered. They got people out at the drive-through taking your order instead of you having to talk to a box. I went through a drive-through one time, and they had somebody at the end of the line. They had a condiment cart outside, and they were just like, how many Chick-fil-A sauces would you like? 11? Great. Would you like 22? They just make it rain condiments over there at Chick-fil-A. One of my favorite things to do is dunk my chicken in some of their sauces. Put that Polynesian sauce on them fries. Maybe you see how John put a little weight on. Starting at Chick-fil-A, eating extra fry, they fall out the box. And then as you turn your eyes to the Lord, you're like, well, this restaurant is Christ-centered. I mean, they'll serve anybody. It's not just for Christians, but they're closed on Sundays. And more recently, one of the higher-ups in Chick-fil-A came and said that he didn't agree with same-sex marriage. Started a whole thing. There are boycotts and people who are pro have found themselves sort of looking at this restaurant as sort of a place that if you're gay or you support gay people, you shouldn't even eat here. It's a restaurant. It's a restaurant. It's a chicken place. What on earth do you care if the former CEO or whatever, I don't even know who somebody higher up in the company, Dan Cathy, voiced his support for the biblical definition of the family unit in 2012 amid nationwide protests. So a guy who is a Christian supports the biblical. I mean, why is that a bad thing? What if he supported that we should not murder? I don't get it. He didn't say if you were gay, you couldn't eat at my restaurant. He didn't say I hate gay people. He supports biblical definition of marriage. This was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, but they're still apparently appalled about this. What if he would have said, oh, I really don't think you should have sex before marriage? Do you think there would have been protests about that? The culture we're in today, we're protesting these things. And even 6 years after this event took place in 2002, Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, tweeted that he ate food at Chick-fil-A. And apparently, it was the wrong month to do so because former CNN anchor Soledad O'Brien put Jack on blast, essentially, saying this is an interesting company to boost during Pride Month, which followed by a mea culpa, as CBS News says, to people tweeting at Jack Dorsey, telling him that, I think Dorsey's a St. Louis native, by the way, that he should have not done that. And he even tweeted later, I forgot about their background. Their background? What do you mean? The fact that someone in the company said that they support the biblical definition of marriage? What about the fact that they employ over 41,000 people? That you get all the condiments you want when you go through the drive-thru line? Their background. That they serve good chicken? It's a restaurant. They're not the voice of Christian advocacy against or for gay and lesbian rights. Why are we making this a story? Who cares? Why do we have to talk about this as a people? Why is this offending anybody? I mean, I understand that people get offended about all sorts of stuff, but I look at this and I just think, I'm in the midst of reading this brand new book I just got about the life of this guy who had a vision from God, late in life, by the way, founded this restaurant, was able to grow it from, how hard it is to start a good business? You know that like 9 out of 11 new restaurant ideas that start up fail? And he was able to start a restaurant, create this, Southern chicken sandwich, and over the decades caught on simply by having faith to pursue creating a good sandwich for you and me to eat. Someone in the company says something, and whether you agree with what he said or not, what on earth does it have to do with eating that sandwich? He didn't say anything that was so terrible. And by the way, if you're in a camp that says, well, I can't support someone who wants their own rights heard, yet you want your own rights heard, I hope you don't open a restaurant and expect any of the Chick-fil-A patrons to come to your restaurant. I mean, isn't that the same thing? Just a thought. I'll be going to Chick-fil-A anytime it's open except Sunday. You ever drove to Chick-fil-A on Sundays? Oh, that's the worst. Ain't nothing more upsetting than getting your heart set on Chick-fil-A. You drive up and those lights are off. Once I finish the True Kathy book, I'll share some of the insights I get on how to succeed and not fail. That's what we're trying to encourage you to do here on the show. Jack Dorsey, people are trying to tell me he failed simply by putting a tweet that he had lunch. And now he's under fire being picked on in all these news articles. Christian or not, non-Christian, advocate or non-advocate for these rights. Why does it matter what restaurant you eat at? I don't get it. I don't get it myself. I don't get it. That's going to do it for tonight's show. I'm very excited that you've joined us on the show tonight. Don't forget that Ragamuffin TV is available for you to go subscribe to. This is a Christian content provider, streaming. They do movies and TV shows and all sorts of other stuff. This is something that you can share with your family, your church. Just keep it for yourself. This is something you can put on your phone, on your Xbox, on your net, on whatever app you have, Apple TV, Roku. I encourage all of you to head over to ragamuffintv.com to learn more or to search for it in whatever app device you're using today. Subscribe. Do the free trial. It's something that might be able to bless your life moving forward and help us support people who are creating content for us to enjoy for years to come. Find past episodes of the New John Simmons Show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find us all over the place. YouTube. Thanks, Curtis behind the boards. Thanks all of you who watched us on Facebook and listen live on your radio tonight. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Until then, we pray you discover a future and a hope for your life today.
Thanks for listening to the New John Simmons Show, part of the Testimony House Network. To replay this episode or listen to past episodes, look for the New John Simmons Show podcast on your mobile device. Stay connected to the show. Read the latest news, blog posts, and see behind-the-scenes photos by following @New John Simmons on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you would like to learn more about how you can begin to write God's sentence for your life, or join a growing community of people who are finding passion, vision, and faith for their lives, please visit newjohnsimmons.com. Until next time, we pray you discover a future and a hope for your life today.